Our meat. The strong eat.
Hey everyone, thanks for coming back to my review for The Terror Infamy. We are on episode 6 right now, titled Taizo, and I gotta say, it's kind of a mixed bag for me watching this episode, and the reason why I say that is that we are given many answers to many of the questions that we've been asking since the beginning of this season, and that's a good thing that we're getting some answers. It's just how fast we were getting them. And usually when you watch a show in a specific season, right in the middle, there's that one episode that answers all those questions in a backstory type of setting, depending on what's going on. Either it be a certain situation or a certain character, we're finally given all those answers. That's exactly what happens to here. We learn a lot about the character of Yuko, which is very interesting, but it's just how we were given that information in the latter half of this episode. But leave your comments below and tell me what you thought. Maybe you're thinking what I'm thinking, maybe you're not. It's just how I perceived it, and I loved how the first half, or I should say over half of this episode, is dedicated to the character Yuko, but I feel this episode should have been entirely about her. I don't know what's going to happen in the next 4 episodes, and maybe there's a reason why it was done this way, but usually when you do a backstory like this, it's usually dedicated to that character. Now, there's only so much you can talk about with the character of Yuko, because we were given a lot of information, but I feel it could have been drawn out to a full 40-minute episode just about her. But I just loved how they set up her storyline. We're a bit more sympathetic to this woman. We understand where she's coming from, and we first see her that she is a bride to this one man. She confesses to him that she's pregnant, and he just throws her out the door, and she has this baby a year later. She gives away the baby. Later we find out that's Chester, which is one of the revelations we find out back when we're in the present of this show in 1943. But throughout this whole time, she feels that she's nothing. Without her child, she is nothing. So she commits suicide, and she meets this just random mysterious woman at the bridge that she commits suicide at, waking up the next morning in this weird, almost back in type of Japan environment, and she feels like she's back at home. And I have to say, I love the technical aspect of this entire sequence, that she was in this little, I guess you can call it an afterlife. That's exactly what it is. It combines the beauty of a Japanese atmosphere with the architecture and just the wardrobe choices, the kimonos that they're wearing, and also the horror of it all with they're surrounded by the rocks that cannot stand over those certain areas where the sand is, or also be taken under by this demon, which looks like to be this other woman's child that went under. And it shows just a nice blend of the horror and the beauty. And I just love how we get a nice sense of the Japanese culture, not only with the looks of it, but we see our character Yuko. She's learning calligraphy. The whole sequence, for the most part, is spoken in Japanese. So I loved every bit about this visually, and just the dialogue, and just how it was all feeling almost like a different show in a way, because we were not in the camps anymore. We're now in this afterlife. It looks like Japan. It just looks like something entirely different, but I just loved what we were seeing here. And that's one of the reasons, or one of the many reasons I just mentioned, why it would have been great to have this whole show dedicated to this one storyline. I think what matters here is that we see the sympathy in Yuko, a character that we seen as this dark entity throughout the last few episodes. So we see the motive of why she is doing this, why she's after Chester and the rest of his family. And I just thought it was just really rich storytelling for this character, that it would have been great just to have this episode dedicated to her. But about 25 minutes before the episode ends, we are brought back to 1943, because that was about 20 or so years before the events that we see in the present time of this show. And Chester has now come back to the camps, and he's given a mouthful of information, a lot of information that this is where I say it could have been broken up into another episode. But as I already said before, there's 4 episodes left. The writers have something going on that we don't really know about. It just seemed that this one ended off in a way that it seemed like the end of the show. Even though the last few moments gives it away that there's just more to come, it's not that easy to get rid of this thing. And I liked the cliffhanger. It made me actually really interested to see what's going to happen next because, as I said before, Chester is given all this information as soon as he gets back from the camps. Not only does he find out Luz is gone, he lost the kids, he finds out that this Yurei is connected to his bloodline. His actual parents that are at the camps are not his real parents, and this entity, this Yuko, is his actual mother, and they try to figure out a way to stop this thing by destroying the body, which is I guess his adopted mother's, I forget her name, her sister now, and they have to burn this body in this other house in order to stop this whole thing from happening. All of this is going on within the last half of this episode, and this is what I was saying, that a good chunk of this could have been put out into the next episode or so, but I don't know what's going to happen. And it ends off in a way where this Yurei, it's not stopped. You see the footsteps after the burning of this house, after this happened the very next day, and you see that this thing wasn't stopped at all. So I don't know what's going to happen, but that's why I'm so intrigued to see the next episode, to see where does the story go next with these characters, with Chester and everyone else, thinking that they stopped the Yurei. And I also think about Chester's fate. What's going to happen to him? Because now that we know that Chester's mother is Yuko, she wanted a child to take back. That's what she wants. She wants to be a mother again. That's why we sympathize with her. So she was willing to take any baby she could, and now it makes sense when Luz was giving birth to the babies. It makes sense why she was so upset that the babies died, and she tries to take another baby in this episode, which is in no way related to Chester and his family, and she's unable to take this baby into the afterlife. So the only person left that she can possibly take back is someone in her bloodline, and that's Chester. So even though I did enjoy watching this, I did wish they would have spread out a bit of the information throughout other episodes, but we'll just see what happens. We saw in the preview for next week's episode is that he's kind of digging deeper into the history of his family, so maybe we're told another story from the past. That would be interesting. Even though we know about Yuko now, maybe there's something that goes beyond that. Who knows? As for what's going on in the camps, I don't know what else is going to happen. Our characters think they've stopped this thing, but they're probably going to be in for a big surprise. As for our character Luz, I'm hoping we see more of her. She's one that I've grown fond of throughout the episodes. Beginning, when I first saw her, I didn't really care for her. Now she's the one I sympathize with the most, even more so than Chester, because she has gone through a lot, doing everything she could, sacrificing for him and his family and losing her children. So I'm hoping we see her again. But that was my quick take. I hope you enjoyed my thoughts on this episode. Stay tuned for next week when I review episode 7. Leave your comments below. Tell me what you thought about this week's episode. And also this week, I'm also reviewing the season premiere of American Horror Story 1984. The first episode premieres this Wednesday. I cannot wait to talk about this one because this is a show that I've been watching since it premiered in 2011. I loved most of the seasons. There's been bad ones, some good ones. This one, I'm hoping for it to be one of my favorite seasons because I love the theme that's behind it. It's all about pretty much 1980s slasher flicks. So I hope you like this type of stuff because I'll be reviewing that one along with this show. And stay tuned for other shows as well. I have a lot of more movie reviews coming up. So if you're subscribed to my channel, make sure to stay tuned to that. If you're not, click on that subscribe button. You guys are awesome. Come back so we can talk movies and more, where anything is possible.